Hi, Shabbat Shalom. The last couple of days, I was thinking about the fact that I needed to message our congregation as your rabbi during such difficult and challenging and dark days. And I had no idea what I would speak about. Frankly, initially, I thought there's really nothing to say. There are no words anymore for this level of tragedy. Being witness on some level to the death of 19 little children as they sat in school is something that's beyond both explanation and beyond a place where comfort can be extended. We know the story in the Bible when Aaron's sons died, and the response of Aaron was silence. And in some ways, I think that is the only response during a time of tragedy. And yet I know that more is called upon us to do. I know that all of us are really brokenhearted, and so we're sharing in that sadness. Brokenhearted people can actually bring comfort to each other when those broken hearts let in a little bit of love and a little bit of light. I don't want to sound like a cliche. I also know that in addition to that deep sadness, there is a lot of anger. And there should be a lot of anger. We have seen this story too frequently. Just last Shabbat, I spoke about the murders in Buffalo, in that African-American community, in that supermarket. And of course, the conversation about guns and sane gun laws is a prevalent conversation, as it should be. I wrote a piece writing just about that, and I knew that I would be accused of politicizing tragedy, as so many people are. But you and I know the reality of this situation is that it is political, and that ultimately, to gain some sanity in our society, whether it be about sane gun laws or whether it be about voting rights, or whether it be about issues of education, public safety, all of that involves politics. And whether you're active in the political conversation or activity, or whether you're inactive in it and sitting at home with your opinions, both have political implications, deep political implications. But I know also that I am your rabbi. And I know that we look for religious responses. Too often this idea of coming together for a vigil and praying for the souls of those who have been killed, praying on behalf of the survivors for their healing, becomes meaningless because nothing changes. And so I'm thinking a little bit about the role of religion, and I know that religion also has been corrupted in America, and we see that regularly. And again, we saw it this past week, if you read the stories about the Southern Baptist Convention and their ministerial leadership. But I also believe, after reading this week's Parsha and having some understanding of Jewish history, that we have a particular religious response. It's not about rejecting religious language, but it's about seeing the responsibility of human beings as part of a religious tradition. So in this week's Parsha, for example, we're entering into the land, and we are told by God and by Moses that we're going to have great difficulty in the land and we're going to suffer there. But our suffering should be understood as having to do with not just God, but our own agency. It's about what we do and what we don't do. When we think back at the Shoah, when we think about the Holocaust, we realize that the theological questions are really unimportant. They belong in an ivory tower. They're important to thinkers, and they're important to some kind of mythological context. But it's about human beings and evil. It's about human beings and a willingness to react, to respond, to do something. And that's what you're called to do. That's what our religious response is. You have to become active. You have to do things in terms of electoral politics. You have to do things in terms of allowing your voice to be heard, to protect children, the safety of children, and all people. You have to do things in order to protect freedoms, and freedoms are very much at stake. You have to do things to protect yourselves as Jews, and in light of the anti-Semitism that has grown out of the white racist community and its replacement theory. That's our obligation. That is our religious obligation. And when we see that we're doing that in response to our God's call for decency and for morality, for righteousness and for justice, then we understand that there is a place for religion. This religion of ours can give us hope, but it can only give us hope if we're willing to take on the obligations that are imposed upon us. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. May we come together to bring comfort to each other and to continue the works of a tradition, a community, and a nation that reflect the dignity of humanity and the fact that we decided long ago to choose life.